Welcome to the Ranchonomics Podcast, where we empower you to build a better ranch and transform your operations into a thriving business. I'm your host, John Haskell. Let's get started. All right, Chloe Diegel, welcome back to the Ranchonomics Podcast. Great to have you here. How are you?
Thanks, John. I'm doing great. I'm excited to be here.
Good. This is part of a multi-part series of episodes with Chloe and also her husband, Alex, who was hurt in a car accident a number of years ago. And we've been talking about what have they learned since the accident. And what I really want to talk about today, we spent some time talking about business resiliency in the last episode. What I would really like to talk about today is mindset. And how have you sort of coped mentally with the process of the changes that have occurred in your life, and how have they propelled you and your business into a new space? So if that's all right, I will kind of let you start from there and we'll go along. I'll ask you questions if that works.
Yeah, sounds good. I think the formal mindset direction that I started going in happened a couple of years ago for me. You know, in the last episode, we talked a lot about business resilience. How can you have other people on your team to support you? What kind of systems can you put in place? And kind of at the end of it, we started talking about how can you create time for yourself to become a leader so that you have like strategic thinking time so that you're not just always doing work, right? It's the physical work of it, which is so incredibly easy to do in ag, right? Like we all are in ag because we love the animals. We love the land. We love being outside. We love driving a tractor. Like whatever it is, we love the work. Like we're very passionate about the work and what we do. But as a business owner, you also have to balance that with leadership time, strategic thinking time, planning time. How are you going to improve your profits if you don't have a strategy behind it? And what I have found over the last probably like 6 or 7 years as I have kind of dove into studying mindset and how that impacts every decision you make in your life. It's just how can you be more intentional every day in the things that you're doing?
Can you explain what you mean by intentional there? That's a word I hear a lot, and I don't always know that we understand what it means.
Yeah, I guess what I mean by intentional is actually partly creating time for yourself. So creating space for yourself where you can slow down your thoughts, and then perhaps even go through the practice of choosing the result that you want. So what is the result that you want in your life, in your business? Your result might be, I want to double our revenue this year. And you'd go, okay, what actions do we need to take in our business to get us there? And this takes time. This takes just like sitting and thinking, right? You can't be building fence while you're doing this, not in a meaningful way. You can come up with lots of ideas while you're building fence, but this actually takes like sitting down and planning time and real leadership thinking. Like, okay, what things do we actually have to do to double our revenue? Whether you're analyzing what your livestock makeup looks like, where you're marketing that livestock, what crops you're growing, that takes analysis. And that's your strategic higher level. And that is intentional thought. You are being very intentional that this is time that I have blocked off for myself. And this is what I'm working on. And the result that I want to get out of this, say you're working for like 2 hours on this one day. And you say, this is the result that I want to get. I want to get one solid idea that will move the needle forward for us. And maybe that's the only thing you do this week. But that's what I'm talking about with intentional work. And that involves one, having staff and creating time for yourself in your schedule. That's not like 11 p.m. or like 3 a.m. before the children get up, because that's not your best thinking time, right? But there's a lot of power in that, I guess is what I'm getting at. And a lot of that comes from the training that I've received as a mindset coach and a life coach, of being able to pause, slow things down, and really learn from yourself about why you think the things you do and how you can change those thoughts to be more intentional, which in turn gets you the results that you want in your life.
Love it. Very good. So let's keep going. In the situation you guys have been in, there's a real opportunity to get derailed. There's an opportunity not to be derailed. So where is the difference? Where did you go to sort of keep things on track?
Well, here's the deal, is that we get derailed every day. Everyone gets derailed every day. There are opportunities to be derailed all the time, right? And it's not to say that we don't get derailed all the time either. We just don't get stuck there. And that's the difference, I think, with what I have learned and I've helped Alex learn as well over the years, is that we don't have to get stuck in this place of being derailed. So what is some really frustrating thing that happened on your ranch recently? This is an example.
Oh, people forget to do the easy stuff first. So we forget to go and check the gates, for example, before we turn cattle into a new pasture.
Okay, so the gates weren't checked. So the way we think about this in the mindset world is that there's kind of a model of how our brain works. Okay, so this is more like neuroscience. So in our lives, we have things that just happen. The cattle get out. There was an ice storm and some fence came down. The well stopped working. These are just things that happen. And in ag, there's lots of things that just happen all the time. That's what we've signed up for. This is our reality. This is our world, that things break. Annoying things happen all the time. That's our life. In the mindset model, those are called circumstances. And a circumstance is just a neutral thing. So if someone doesn't close the gate, you might be like, oh, that's so annoying. Why didn't we do that? And I might be like, okay, what's the big deal? So you and I have different interpretations of that fact. And that's how you know that that is just, it's the fact. Is it a fact in a court of law that so-and-so is so lazy they didn't check the gate first? That's not a fact. That's not a fact, but it is a fact that the gate was not checked. Okay? So that's your circumstance. The next thing that happens in your body is you think something about it. The last time the gate wasn't checked, what was your thought about that?
Same as you just described, like, why didn't we get this done? Now I have to do 4 hours of work that I didn't have to do before. Right?
So you have a string of what we might interpret as negative thoughts, right? Your first thought was, why didn't we do this before? Which essentially is, we should have done this before, which is, we should have known better. So if you think, so when you're thinking, we should have done this before, what emotion or what feeling comes up?
Oh, it's not good.
Can you describe it more? Are you frustrated? Are you angry?
Yeah, frustration, sometimes anger, disappointment.
Disappointment.
Then we go into all of the things related to, now this is going to take me hours to solve instead of the other stuff I had to do.
Right. Okay, so you have a circumstance that you didn't open the gate ahead of time. Your thought is, we should have done this before. And you make yourself, with that thought, you make yourself feel disappointed. Because the gate is just, it's a thing that happened. But your thought is, oh, we should have done it. You make yourself feel disappointed. So then when you feel disappointed, we have all these things, these actions that we take from that feeling, right? Because we're humans and everything we do is based on emotion, one way or another. And we create emotions from the things that we think. So when you're feeling disappointed about the gate, what would I see you doing or not doing?
Help me understand that. While I'm feeling the disappointment, we're gathering the cows back.
Yeah. So in that circumstance where nobody opened the gate and then you were like, ugh, and then you were feeling disappointed and frustrated. If I was like recording you on a drone, what would I have seen you doing? Would you have been like snapping at your employees or like, I was just guessing on that.
Yeah. No, that's perfect. Yeah. So the first phase is probably being some lesser version of my best self and then going and gathering the cows back into the pasture they were supposed to be in. We could have probably circumvented that whole middle part, right?
So some of the actions that come out of the emotion could be like, the lesser version of yourself. However,
Yell at the kids. Yeah. Pick the dog.
right, yelling at the kids, or just the way you're presenting yourself, the way you're handling the animals, all of those things. And then there's maybe some things that you're not doing as well. I didn't pause. I didn't take a moment to go, is this really a big deal or is it not a big deal? I didn't take a moment to go, okay, how can I do this better next time? And so the result that you're seeing from your thought of, oh, we should have done this better, is that you're seeing that you should have done it better, that you could have planned ahead of time. You could have an SOP, and now it's going to take you 4 times longer, however much longer it took you, because you're in this negative kind of thought that is going to give you a negative result. So you can kind of work backwards and forwards on those thought models, and you can begin to think about how would you change your thoughts. So assuming there's another time where the gate isn't open, or it does get closed, or it doesn't get closed and it is open, you can intentionally, and here's the intentional part, you can intentionally go, okay, last time this happened, I didn't like the result. I didn't like the actions that I took. I didn't like who I was. I didn't like how I interacted with the people and the animals. So what can I do different next time? And that could be choosing a different emotion or choosing a different thought. So if the gate is open next time, what's a different thought that would give you a more positive emotion?
Would it be to ask why? Not in an accusatory way, right? Why are you an idiot that left the gate open? But how did we get to this point? Why is this gate open? Is that a better way to approach that?
Yeah, you could ask it that way. Typically, we don't want to think about thoughts in questions, like in a question form. So how could you change that to not a why?
I don't know. I'm going to struggle here. Let me make sure I understand. My goal is to get myself in a more positive mental frame, right? Before just going and gathering the cows back, right? Through the gate that was closed.
Yep.
Okay.
So I think the angle that you're going is great, because curiosity is a lot of this, and asking those questions like, why is the gate open? What led to this? But as mindset coaches, we oftentimes will try to reframe that thought into a statement versus a question, because questions often lead us to more questions and aren't always like the most productive way to think about it. So we try to focus people into one circumstance, so the gate, and then you try to filter down to like, what is the one overarching thought? And we can go about this a different way. So next time the gate is open, how would you rather feel other than frustrated, angry, and disappointed? What's the emotion that you would rather have?
Well, I'd rather be happy about it, but I don't know if that's one of the options.
Well, you likely won't be happy.
But I guess for me, the emotional part is I'd like to be a lot more neutral of, okay, what do we need to do next? And again, avoid the anger and frustration entirely. Is that fair?
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. So you'd rather feel neutral than like charged with kind of more negative emotions. So in order for you to feel neutral, what would you have to be thinking?
Most clearly about the task at hand and about getting the cows back in, right? That's the place where we need to be. Like, this is where we're at.
The gate. So that you realize the gate got left open and you're feeling neutral about it. What's the thought that's making you feel neutral about it?
Boy, this is tough. I thought I picked an easy example there.
One thought could be, I know exactly how to solve this.
Okay, very good. One of the things we spend time visiting with our kids about is each time we work with animals, it's an opportunity for them to get better and for us to get better. Would that be a reframe that says, oh, good, I get the chance to do this because my cows and I need practice going through the gate?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. For you to feel neutral or for you to feel excited that is an opportunity, for you to feel excited that you get to work the animals, you reframed it as, this is an opportunity for me to work with my animals and work with my kids. That thought helps you get to a place of excited, and you turn to your kids and you're like, awesome, you guys. This is a great opportunity. We get to work with the animals, and we've all learned once again that we prefer to have the gate closed. Well, and then you can see how from that place of excitement or feeling a little more neutral about it, that then the actions you take is that example where you turn to your kids with a smile on your face and you're like, this is going to be great, you guys. We get to spend some time working with our animals and we can really get an eye on everybody, make sure everybody's healthy. And we've all had a reminder that the first thing we want to do is go check that gate before we do this moves like this. And you can have a conversation, right? And then the result that you're getting is instead of all the frustration and not being your best self, you have maybe an interaction with your kids where they're like, whoa, Dad was really cool about that. That was actually fun. We actually had like a good time instead of Dad yelling at us the whole time about, no, get over there, whatever happens when you move animals with your family, which we all know what that's like. So that's the power, that kind of intentional thought and the work that I learned from my mentor, which is Charlotte Smith. And this is not like crazy stuff. Anyone can kind of learn this stuff by Googling around online. But this is the mindset coaching model where you can slow people down to a specific event that happened and help them slow down their mind and think about, like, why did I think that thought? What was I actually feeling? What actions did I take from that feeling? And then you can create an intentional version of that event to kind of help retrain your brain to, like, not everything is a catastrophe. Everything that happens doesn't have to be negative, and help people realize that I do have the power to choose a thought that will get me a better result in my life.
Uh-huh.
Because if we're always in a negative space, we're just going to see everything as negative. And then in turn, more negative things happen because we're in this negative space and we see everything as negative. And some people are naturally more negative and some people are naturally just more positive people. And you might have those two people next to each other looking at the same thing and having completely different outcomes in their life or results from it.
Running a ranch is more than just hard work. It's about vision, strategy, and execution. That's why Ranching.FYI exists, to help ranchers make smarter decisions every day. With access to cutting-edge resources, online forums, and events tailored to the challenges ranchers face, Ranching.FYI helps you stay ahead of the game. If you're ready to grow your operation and connect with other ranchers, head over to Ranching.FYI today and see how this platform can transform your business.
But it doesn't mean that there isn't any hope for that more like negatively wired person. Like, you do actually have control over this, and this is neuroscience. We have a powerful brain that we can manipulate in our favor with intention.
Yeah, and I think I asked Alex, have you read Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning?
I have not.
Okay, it's a fantastic book, and it's amazing to me because you guys both have effectively articulated his thesis, right? Which is the whole between stimulus and response, there's a space. And as a concentration camp survivor, he came to this same conclusion. And it's kind of amazing to think, even in that environment, you can choose how to respond.
Exactly. Yes. I do know a little bit about him, but I have not read his book. But yeah, that's exactly it. And that is what makes us human, is that we do not have to just respond to our environment. We have that part of our brain. That's the fight or flight response, right? That's just you react to all the negative things. But we also have a part of our brain called the prefrontal cortex, which is our thinking brain. And that's exactly what the thought model does and mindset coaching does, is it helps you pause that reactionary part of your brain and then engage the thinking part of your brain. Because we have like something like 70 or 80,000 thoughts a day. Brains are always working, and we're only aware of like 5% of the thoughts. There's stuff constantly in our brains. And if we can be just a little more aware and a little more intentional, your life changes.
Excellent. You mentioned you had worked with a mentor. How did you get into that? Was that a random encounter or was that something you sought out? How'd you find that?
Yeah, I started listening to Charlotte Smith several years ago. I probably when she started a podcast. I don't know exactly when she started her podcast, but probably in 2018, 2019, something like that. And she started talking about this mindset stuff and how it relates to small business. And she was talking a lot about how to direct market your business. And that was very appealing to me because that's what our farm does, is all direct to consumer. So I followed her for a long time. And then she started a coaching program. And a little over 2 years ago, I purchased her group coaching program where she'll do mindset coaching for someone in the group every week. There's usually like 4 different people that hop on a call and get coaching. And it could be, a farm relationship, or it could be marketing coaching. It could be business coaching. It could be a wide variety of things. But oftentimes the mindset coaching is incorporated in with the business coaching. So I was part of her group coaching program. And then a few months later, she started training coaches. So she has a coaching certification program as well. And in the summer 2023, I went through her mindset, life, business coaching training program. So I'm a certified coach through her coach training program. And that just kind of deepened, my understanding of all of this. I was really interested in it, saw the value of it immediately. And it's amazing because the group coaching is also so valuable because you can apply anyone else's coaching to your own life. You say, how does this apply to my life? And it always does, always, So that's the value of the group coaching, is that you're learning so much from other people that applies directly to your life, because we all have things all the time that are happening in our lives that are very similar to other people's. So yeah, Charlotte Smith, she has lots of free resources out there for anyone that is interested in this a little bit more. She has a great podcast with tons of episodes that talk about mindset coaching, talk about things that you can change on your farm now to like move the needle forward. John, you and I talked a lot about before. She has like a free email series about pricing for profit. And she's been around for a long time in the farm and ag world. So yeah, I learned from her directly.
That's fantastic. Now, do you also offer coaching services?
I don't at this time. I might in the future, but I was not excited about starting another business.
Got enough on your plate
Right.
now? Yeah. But I'm sure you use that a lot with employees and even family members.
Absolutely. So I went through the coaching program. Alex did not, but after hearing me gab and talk about it, and I kind of taught him the time management technique that Charlotte teaches in her program. And I know for him that has really changed his life a lot. Just learning how to schedule your life in a more meaningful way to help reduce the overwhelm and your brain just looping on all the to-do lists. The way she teaches time management is basically you do a big brain dump and then you actually do calendar your tasks and you stick to it. And that's really teaching you to be accountable to yourself. Just like I have this meeting on my calendar and I'm going to show up to it. I'm being accountable to you in the meeting that we scheduled with each other. And I need to treat myself that same way. So the things that I schedule for myself have to be just as important as the meeting that I scheduled with you. And that could be going to the gym. It could be reading a book. That is just as important as sending the email or making the grazing plan or whatever it is. So that's kind of that time management process has been super valuable for us as individuals and as a couple. And I think has just made our whole lives more calm, as well as understanding we have choice and we have intention in our thoughts and our actions.
And I'm sure you get lots of teaching opportunities with your kids at home.
Absolutely. Although our oldest, who's 14, is don't try to do the thought stuff on me. I'm not. Don't try to coach me. I'm not coaching you. I swear.
I'm literally your parent, you little puke. Stop it.
I know.
Gotta love 14-year-old.
I know. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful. All right. Other than Charlotte, are there any other resources you recommend for people that are interested in this? Because again, I think the idea that we can think our way out of most of our problems is pretty remarkable. And just like you say, it's not that we don't get knocked off track. It's that we get back on track. Bud Williams used to always say, I make more mistakes handling cattle than anybody does. The only difference is I see them before they're sort of fully manifested, if you will. And then I make the course correction and go a different way. And that always impressed me. Think about that.
Yeah. I mean, there are endless resources out there. And you mentioned Dan Martell when we were talking about the SOPs and stuff. And he incorporates a ton of mindset stuff into his work. So I think at this point, it's pretty pervasive in the business world, that people are thinking about that. Anything having to do with leadership. Well, it may not be like as direct as, what I was talking about. But if you know about the model, you go, oh, yeah, this is all mindset work. So it really is valuable. And very prominent leaders, like people that are successful in business, they are using mindset as a really important tool in their toolbox for being successful. And I'm not saying that we're like suddenly super successful because I'm a mindset coach and we understand this. That's not necessarily how it works. But the science is there, the neuroscience is there, this is legit, and it does have a dramatic impact. Even if the only impact that happens is you're feeling less overwhelmed, then you just improved your life dramatically. Or if you suddenly, I can have dinner every night with my family because I figured out how to calm down my reaction a little bit, which made my day run a whole lot smoother, which meant I wasted less time, which means it's 6:00 and I'm here and I'm at the table and I'm sitting with my family and I'm not worried about the things that happened today and I'm not worried about the things that have to happen tomorrow, and I'm here and I'm present. Now, when it comes down to it, that's the most valuable thing. If you can gain quality of life, like you're living large.
Yep. That makes me think of a friend of mine who at one point they had a KPI of how many nights was he home at dinner time. He's a farmer. And I thought that's a great KPI. And then the next thing I thought was, boy, the next level KPI for that is not only am I home at dinner, but my phone isn't ringing or I'm not thinking about the 10,000 things I need to be doing while I'm here at this stupid dinner with these people who, in theory, I love and want to spend all of my time with. And while I'm with them, I'm thinking of the 10,000 other things I'm supposed to be doing. So,
right. Yeah, exactly. That's a wonderful KPI. I actually love that.
Yeah. Well, hard to implement for most of us. That's a difficult one.
I know. And some of that comes down to again, taking time to reflect, what are my goals in life? And some of those, you don't want to think about death all the time, but at the end of the day, what do I value the most? I want to be with my family. I want my kids to not resent me or the farm or the ranch or their life growing up here. I want our dinner table to be fun conversations. I don't want it to be about work. I want to hear about the things that they're interested in. I want to take my kids to their activities. Sitting down and thinking about what do I actually want my life to look like? And whether you create a KPI out of that or not, that's up to you. Some people need KPIs, some people don't. That's key performance indicators for people who don't know what we're talking about. But again, it's sitting down and going, what is the most important to me in my life? What do I want it to look like? And then start taking steps to reverse engineer it. How do I need to think about this? Maybe who do I need to hire to help me get to this? Whether that's in 2 years, I want to take a vacation for a month with my family because my kids really want to go to Ireland or whatever and ride Irish sport horses, which is what my daughter would love to do. You can reverse engineer your dream life.
Yeah.
And there doesn't have to be a timeline on it. It doesn't have to happen this year. It doesn't have to happen next year. But you can begin to take little steps. And even just saying, well, I'd love to eat more dinners with the family. That's important to me. Even if that's the only thing you have that thought, suddenly you will find a way to structure your day so that you are eating more. And you may not make any intentional changes, but just because you had that thought and you're like, this is really important to me, then suddenly you will create it for yourself.
Right. Chloe, this is awesome. You're one of the few other people I've run into that's really connected organizational capital and mindset. And that is pretty cool. Yeah. When I first saw Charlotte's stuff a while back and she was marketing and mindset, I was thinking that's a strange pairing of things. That was kind of my initial reaction. And then as soon as you explore it a little, it's like, oh yeah, that absolutely makes sense. Like those two things. Marketing in my mind is so mindset dependent, right? It's a very pricing your product from a very fragile process. And if you're not in a robust mind space while you're doing that and having that conversation with potential customers, that sort of thing, like you're very vulnerable to poor performance.
Absolutely. In my direct market business, there's a lot of email. Like you write a lot of emails or you're posting things on social media. And if your mindset is, I hate writing emails, I never know what to write, then you're going to write a crappy email. And the person that reads it's going to be like, I don't know, that was kind of weird. But if you can take 5 minutes and you can go, okay, I'm going to write this email. And my thought is, I'm going to give so much value to this customer in this email that they're going to want to read my next email. And then maybe if they read my next email, they'll see my offer and they'll click on it. And then over time, they'll become a customer because I'm serving them.
Yeah.
Then you're immediately in a better space where you are serving that customer. And then the words that you're using and what you're writing, the content that you're sharing, the information that you're sharing is valuable to them. And that's how you begin to build relationships. And whether that's your custom grazing client or just an email that you're sending out to someone on your email list, like all of that makes a difference. We've done a lot, like what's our customer value that we're providing for our business? And it could be commodity, it could be direct to consumer. Like you can find value and that will make your marketing that much better. And will also make your day that much better, right? If you're like, we have valuable customers that we are serving, our work is really important. That's immediately also has shifted your mindset for the work you're doing any given day.
Yeah, very good. All right, I want to close the loop a little here. When we talked about organizational capital in the last episode, we talked about how that related to resiliency. That's how you started our conversation here. I'd like to bring that back around where, again, the same basic idea that a conscious awareness, I guess, of our mindset is a huge tool for individual resiliency. Is that fair?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, that's wonderful. And we all know that life includes plenty of shocks, unexpected events, some for the good, many that could be bad. And we really have an opportunity to choose how we navigate those.
Absolutely, because things happen. And at some point, you just have to go, okay, this is my reality. I can't deny that this is my current reality.
I might wish there was something else.
What am I going to do about it?
Yeah.
Yeah. This is not what I want. I don't want to have a broken leg right now, but it's not going to like suddenly heal and overnight. So the more you resist that this is your current reality, the harder it is. And whether that is a broken leg, whether it's your sales aren't where you want them, whether it's whatever, we have current realities that we often want to deny as well, that we don't want to fix because our brain's like, that's so hard. We have to do a lot of thinking. I don't want to go there. That sounds really hard. But the sooner you can just accept this is your reality, then again, yeah, the more resilient you are, the more resilient your business is, the more resilient your family and your kids are. And some of that, circling way back, I think Alex has like a natural inclination for that. Like, okay, here's my current reality. What are our actions that we're going to take? He immediately goes to, okay, what can we do to move forward from out of this? Circling way back to his recovery and stuff, I think that's some of the reason he was so successful. He's just like naturally inclined to, okay, well, I'm not going to sit here and say, well, I wish it didn't happen to me. Why did it happen to me? He went, okay, this is my new reality, as crappy as this is. And like, wow, as much of a challenge this is going to be, it's not going to be easy, but what can I do to move forward from today, from where I'm at right now?
Yeah, love it. I heard a definition of suffering once that was along the lines of our unwillingness to acknowledge reality and try to have a should occur.
Exactly.
That seems exactly like what you're talking about. Like, here we are. Let's get on with it.
Here we are. What can we do? Yeah, we might not be happy with it, but what can we do to make it even just a little bit better?
Yeah, because we darn sure know how to make it worse. That's usually our response, right?
Yeah.
Very good. Well, Chloe, I am super thankful for your time and your willingness to get on and speak about this. You and Alex impressed the heck out of me with what you guys have done, both in your business and in your personal lives. Is there anything we haven't talked about that you'd like to add, or anything we've missed in your mind?
I don't think so. I mean, this was great. We kind of went all over the place.
We did indeed.
We kind of went all over the place, but I think there are a ton of resources out there. If people want to dive into, especially the mindset stuff more, I can help you find some more meaningful links for people to pursue if they're interested in that, and maybe some books as well. I couldn't think of any off the top of my head because I've read so many, but Charlotte is a great resource, and there's tons of free podcasts out there for when you are working on your farm or your ranch. You want to challenge yourself to something new and help yourself grow. There's lots of great resources.
Very good. Well, thank you very much for joining us. I really appreciate this. And again, you guys are at Robinette Farms, right?
Yes. Yep.
Which is spelled in the French way, right? 2 T's and an E?
Yes. ROBINETTE farms with an S. Yep. We're robinettefarms.com. Google us and you'll find us. We're in Nebraska.
Wonderful. Well, thank you.
Yes. Thank you. This was great.
Thank you for tuning into the Ranchnomics podcast. We hope this episode helped you win today. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and share it with a friend.